Hi, welcome back to the Shifting Schools podcast. My name is Trisha Friedman, and if you have been curious about how AI might support our multilingual learners, this week's episode is for you. We have special guest Dr. Marc Santamaria, who is an ESL instructor and an AI trainer who focuses on empowering educators to harness the transformational power of AI. Now, Dr. Santamaria is also an immigration attorney and uses AI for case law research and drafting legal documents. So we also touch upon how that area of his expertise is really relevant in this new era of AI. Dr. Santamaria also just has us thinking about what it means to be sharing some of our learning in social spaces like LinkedIn. So listeners, if you like what he has to say, please be sure to head over to the show notes where you'll be able to learn more about him as well as connect and follow him on LinkedIn. Before we get into this week's conversation, we do have a quick word from our show sponsor.
Shifting Schools is excited to be sponsored by newlight.io. Their platform is designed to simplify MTSS frameworks for personalized student support. Built by leading experts, Newlight focuses on getting educators the answers they need fast. Which students need which levels of support? With simple data collection and insightful analytics powered by AI, Newlight's platform provides actionable solutions to support your students effectively. Try it for free at newlight.io. That's NEULIGHT.io. Check the link in the show notes to learn more.
And with that, let's dig into another engaging Shifting Schools conversation. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Marc Santamaria. I'm really excited to be speaking with you. I've been following you on LinkedIn for some time now, and I should say you're prolific in the best sense of the word over on that space. You're constantly sharing really what's coming, what's already existing when it comes to the world and the possibilities of generative AI for educators. I wonder if something comes to mind if you were to say, you know what, right now, this is what most excites me about teaching or about expanding possibilities for learners because of AI.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that teachers can interact with AI in the sense that we are able to partner with it in a way that they can create lessons with the help of AI. And what I love about it is you can really have a 24/7 partner in crime. And I remember pre-AI, it would take me 30 minutes, an hour, if I'm being honest, to create a lesson. And now that there are certain apps, even ChatGPT, it's upping its game in terms of helping teachers create lessons. Because just the other day, I asked it to help me create a lesson for my level 1 ESL students. And before, it wouldn't have given little fun emojis, but it threw all those in because I asked it to help me create a paragraph using the latest vocabulary words we used in class. And so it did, and it matched their level. So I wouldn't have to think pre-AI, okay, let me think of a story. It's going to take me forever. But now I can use it. And now it even adds emojis if I asked it to, because I don't even know how to add emojis by myself. So ChatGPT and many other apps can do that. So that's really what I look forward to in terms of partnering with generative AI.
I'm glad that you brought up that example because I think for folks who maybe have not been in the classroom or done any instructional design, they underestimate just how much content you have to, or you had to create as an educator. It really is, okay, we're constantly creating stories, exemplars, coming up with analogies, questions. Like, it really is so much thinking. And I love, Marc, that you talked about doing that in a partnership, not turning over the ownership completely, I often will use it to get feedback on an activity or feedback on an aspect of something that I've designed. And as you said, when you're working as a teacher, you don't always have a collaborator. And even if you do have a team, you don't always want to, I put in quote marks, bother them with your questions. But now it's like I can get another perspective on my work. And also, there's almost a little bit of I don't necessarily think the feedback is coming from a place that's dependent on a personal relationship, right? So that part is fascinating. A lot of the work that you're doing in helping multilingual learners reminds us like students need practice. They need so much practice in not just learning a language, but I think developing a confidence for using it. How do you see AI helping us just in giving students more opportunities for rehearsal or for building up that confidence piece?
That's a good question. In terms of confidence, there's no better test than asking a student to go up in front of class and say something, act out something. And if they're willing to do it, that shows something, that they have a little confidence in them. So in relation to that, I have created some dialogues, some role play activities with AI. And so the activity, for example, would be student A and student B. And what's good is, okay, I know a little bit about the students. I know, for example, student Mike is from Guatemala and his favorite fruit is the. And so I input that on ChatGPT or Cloud or whatever. And then I ask it to, okay, knowing these things about student Mike, also here's student Michelle from Mexico, create a dialogue for them and based on their interests. And then I project it in the class. And then when everyone sees it, their eyes light up, especially student Mike and Michelle, and they laugh about it. And because prior to that, we already know each other. And then I ask them, would you like to present in front of class? And often it's yes. And when they do, it's a fun environment. And I make sure that they feel like we're all encouraging them and we give them applause. And what we do, like the Hollywood style, we do the countdown and then 3, 2, 1, action together. And they read it and it's a lot of fun, I must say. And then after that, they bow and we all applause. And then in terms of feedback, we obviously, like hamburger style, we say, okay, what's the good stuff, areas to improve? And then again, amazing. You just went in front of class, in front of everybody. But they'll remember the good and areas to improve. And in terms of feedback, that was helped a lot with AI, the story itself, right? Yeah, it's fun.
And that's an example too, where I know there's a lot of teachers who are saying, I'd love to use generative AI, but either my district has the technology switched off, or for a whole range of reasons, we're not having our students directly in class use it. But you've just modeled how the teacher can still be using it and implementing it in a way that it also does open up those conversations for the students to be aware of, okay, this is what AI can do, and this is what it can't do yet. So I really love that as an example. And for me, that scaffolding piece is so huge. I was earlier today getting ready. I have a workshop coming up that's about futures literacy and doing different analysis of data that we have and thinking about, is this a signal? What might it be a signal of? The workshop that I have is only 90 minutes. It's not a ton of time. So I needed something there that was going to help educators get up the ladder a little bit faster. I don't know if you've ever played around with Google Trends, but you can see what searches are trending by country, by topic. So I just did a few comparisons of 5 different countries the last 7 days. I uploaded those screenshots to ChatGPT. I had it start to do the analysis of, based on what's really trending in Google search for these countries, what are some of the signals and what questions should we ask about those signals? Just because I really wanted to demonstrate the thinking process. And I am fully confident that's going to help teachers start to do that work on their own, to see that as an example and to see where maybe ChatGPT is wrong. But I would say, Marc, like I was pretty fascinated actually at its breakdown and level of analysis. And it's also that opportunity to say, you know what, I might have got there, but it definitely would have taken me like probably 2 hours of thought time. I would, and this was 5 minutes, if that. So the opportunities for scaffolding and coming up with examples, it's just like a whole new world. And for me, I feel like it's re-energized how I feel about teaching. I don't know if you're feeling the same thing, or it's reinventing the art and craft of teaching, I think, a little bit.
Yes, to your point, every day I use it to I'll just say it again so we can cut that. Yeah, every day I use it, and personally, but also professionally. For every lesson, I try to make it fresh to students and related to the previous day's lesson. And so I have to remember what we talked about. And for example, we're learning verbs, past tense and present tense verbs, and comparing them: took versus take, come versus came. And then it's similar. And then I try to do a similar pattern every day where we have a little writing activity. And then we also do a little choosing between the two. In this sentence, should you use took or take, come or came? And so I don't come up with those sentences anymore. It would have taken me for 10 sentences, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, if I'm being honest with myself. ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, oh, just like that. And I am, to your point, I'm very excited about the potential because it just keeps getting better. And so there's so much we can keep improving as teachers, with our skills. And yeah, and I'm partly doing this because I'm a father, I have a family, and so if I can spend 20 more minutes playing with my son, that's my treasure. And AI can actually help with that. But it doesn't take away from the quality, and it's still inspired by our thinking, and it's still in line with what we want to do. I say, why not? I think this is a great opportunity for us educators.
I couldn't agree with you more, because I think the reality of it is, if you're a teacher, and again, there's evidence to back this up, it is a job where really you're doing the job of two people at once. The amount of time that goes into lesson design, the energy it takes to then also be delivering and getting people excited about learning. You're a theater producer, a writer, an actor, a counselor, all bundled in with a bunch of other things too. And so I do think this is something that we can look at. Is it just making the job a little bit more fair? And I'm curious how you think about this, being that you have a foot in another industry as well. You have expertise in the legal landscape. And this is another profession that I'm seeing a big conversation around how AI might change it. Listeners, I'm actually going to leave a link in the show notes. Thomson Reuters did some interesting research about how AI might enhance the work of being a lawyer, another profession where there's a ton of research and reading and writing involved. I'm wondering if you have thoughts on what AI is going to do for that industry. And I know our conversation today around AI and education has been super positive. Do you have that same positivity about that career pathway as well?
Yeah, and Trisha, interesting segue, right? Because you said what AI is going to do, right? But actually, to relate it to the English, what has AI already been doing in the legal field? It's interesting because I look at it from two perspectives: as a law professor at UC Berkeley and as a practitioner. I do immigration law. And so there are certain different kinds of ways of thinking. So as a practitioner, oh, it's a game changer. For example, we have to help clients write letters of support from their parents, from whomever. So before AI, pre-AI, what they would have to do, for example, is, okay, the writer would have to give us something, then we have to say, fix that, fix this. But now we can help them write it by entering a prompt that gives them some suggestions on how to write it. And now it's like, when the first time I saw it, the output, I was like, oh my God. So we just have to know how to use it. So a lot of lawyers are afraid of it because there's a lot of well thought out ethical issues. And I totally agree with those. There are confidentiality issues, attorney-client privilege issues. But the good thing is there are apps like Lexis plus AI Co-Counsel that keeps things in a closed universe so that confidentiality isn't an issue, or it minimizes confidentiality. And so that really does help in terms of confidentiality. Then in terms of what it can do, there are so many things. For example, with research is a big thing. Pre-AI, what lawyers would have to do is go to the library, dark code library, and research some cases. Nobody wants to be at the library, at the law library. Then, then the internet, and then you can do research online, which is great. It's been a good development with tools like Lexis. But then it gets too overwhelming. Now, with Lexis plus AI, it can help synthesize your case and legal research. So it really does bring together a lot of relevant case law that you can find a lot faster than if you were to go case by case. And so it's a skill, though. You have to be able to ask AI and prompt it properly so that you know exactly what you want from it. So I think that's key in how to lawyer in the AI age, and how to research properly with AI, and how to prompt properly with AI.
Hi, folks. We'll get back to our conversation in just a moment. I want to talk a bit more about newlight.io, the AI FERPA compliant, that's our federal guidelines around privacy of student data, platform making personalized student support a breeze. Student privacy is huge in our schools, and Newlight is big on privacy as well. It was one of the first questions I asked the co-founder, Jose, about. There are a few AI systems out there that meet the requirements to being FERPA compliant, and Newlight does just that. Newlight's IntelliTier platform is more than just a data collection tool. It's an AI-powered assistant that has been trained to truly understand the MTSS framework, student context, and school-specific resources. Developed by a team with both social, emotional, and behavioral needs in mind, and with plans to extend into academic support soon. Studies show effective MTSS and SEL implementations can boost attendance, improve grades, and increase graduation rates. Yet many schools struggle with the complexities of gathering data and turning that data into actionable items within the MTSS process. Newlight's IntelliTier platform makes it easy with simple, fast data collection, asynchronous collaboration across the MTSS team, and actionable insight that educators can implement and document their success with. Plus, Newlight is advised by seasoned educators and administrators, so they understand your everyday classroom challenges. You have to try it out for yourself. So head over to newlight.io to give it a try for free. That's NEULIGHT.io. Thank you to Newlight for taking this on, and a proud sponsor of the Shifting Schools community.
I wonder too if you see the potential for running through role play scenario. Like, I'm imagining even having a simulation where you've got this huge mega prompt that really pulls together, here's profiles of an imaginary jury, here's one part of my argument, simulate how they might respond to that. And in part, I'm thinking about that as an example. I know it's like bad form as a podcaster to recommend another podcast mid-episode, but I've been following a show called Possible for a long time. And the big idea behind this podcast is they have a different expert on, and they talk about what if the technology goes right. We do often focus, as we should, on how it could go wrong, but they try to balance that out with, but what if it goes right? And they had a government official talking about diplomacy and how if you work in diplomacy, and you're struggling to mediate some kind of conflict, it's so complex. Often you don't have a huge amount of time to argue your case or mediate things. But with a tool like this, you could simulate and you could get a few different options really quickly. And I'm wondering if you think there's a place for that in the legal landscape as well, because I'm guessing that must be such a difficult part, is that human element. How might different people respond at an emotional level to a case you're building?
Which I appreciate this question because it's crucial. If, in terms of strategizing for a case, for example, if you have a client in court, immigration court, for example, and we want to know what is the judge's grant rate for a case. So pre-AI, just Google it. And then there's maybe someone did research here and there. And at least we know that those are good statistics to know. Then how do we use AI to leverage those statistics is the question now. So what we do is, okay, this judge has XYZ pass rate, and we know from which kinds of cases. Then we present it to AI and say, okay, knowing, because it's all public information. And so we enter it into the AI and ask, okay, knowing this, what would happen statistically, the pass rate, grant rate, if we do this based on the judge's experience? And it actually tends to give some realistic and reasonable conclusions. I think a lot of lawyers don't know that. And I'm like, wow, it's someone, as we mentioned earlier, someone to partner with, but also someone to ponder with. Okay, we know this about this judge. Okay, what do you think? What do we think? And so I think it's so interesting, the possibilities there for lawyers. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You've totally inspired me. Please, I say this with so much humility. I am nowhere near your expertise with the law, but in high school, my mock trial team won the county championship. And I'm thinking what it would mean to run mock trial in high school now and actually take a real judge and create a digital composite of that persona. Like, you could be practicing with that based on real cases. Like, that is just fascinating. You mentioned that you feel like it's a thing that most, or that some lawyers are unaware of. And I wonder if you can just say a little bit more about, I've come across this a lot, even just within education, the hesitancy, the reluctance to experiment. And this happens whenever there's new technology, right? There's always some fear, some uncertainty. And I understand that it's part of human nature. I do think what's a little different this time is technology is saying, okay, these skills, these so-called white collar skills that before we couldn't automate, now there's some aspects, not all, but there are some aspects that, hey, the technology can help with. And I think that really frightened some people who felt like, for sure, my skills are so unique. Like, you could never predict blah, 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 blah. And I think it's important that we experiment with the capacity to know better, like when we want the tech to step in versus not. I think it will be really interesting to see. And there's been some Ipsos research on, do we trust AI more than we trust another human to make decisions? Who knows? We might live in a future world where cases will be determined, and we've seen this with bail. It's determined by an algorithm, not by a human. So I think unless we experiment, we're not really going to know, is that a good idea? Is it not? And I just wonder if, in closing, you could say a little more about, why did you feel told to do the experimentation? What made you realize it's okay? It's maybe even good to be curious about the technology. Was there something that happened, or do you attribute it to a mindset that you have?
Thank you, Trisha. And again, thanks for having me. And a couple things. One is, maybe a decade ago when social media was just starting, I didn't like it. I still don't really like it. Kind of don't like the concept. Oh, look at me concept. And I held it off as much as possible. I remember going to restaurants with my friends and they started looking at their phones more often. I'm like, what are you doing? And we're just hanging out. I remember clearly one specific friend, and that just totally turned me off to social media because he was using Facebook more than talking to me. Still friends, but then I started seeing, okay, it's a thing. People really can benefit from social media, and if used properly, it can be to someone's advantage. Then I promised myself, the next big thing, I'm not going to be last anymore, and this is it. This is even bigger, I think. And I think it's bigger because it's not just look at me kind of thing. It's more about productivity. And I try to use AI all about in terms of that lens. How can I be more productive using AI? And how can I help others with AI? That's partly why I decided, okay, I want to go for it. Then I actually started. But before that, there was a middle ground. I was debating with myself, should I do it? Because it was starting to create a buzz. And there's one of the fathers of AI, Mo Gaudat, former CEO of Google. For the viewers that don't know him, you can Google him, former executive of Google. And the question was asked of him by an interviewer from Diary of a CEO. And the interviewer asked him, so what should someone in his 30s consider doing with AI? And Magodat said, people like you should lead the way with AI. It's because you're a moral person. You work hard and you work fast. So I always think about that in terms of who will succeed in the AI age. And to Magodat's point, people who are moral, who are intelligent, and work fast. Those are the three elements that I strive for when I work with AI. And since using it, I was like to myself, wow, I had this, oh my gosh, moments using it where it's been a total game changer for me in many ways. It's been such a fun ride. And I want to share what I've learned with my colleagues. And there's much to share and not be a hoarder. I'm happy to share. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
I am very happy that you are not a hoarder, that you are sharing. And listeners, I alluded to, this is someone you're going to want to follow on LinkedIn to learn from. If there's any other place that you're saying, listener, you want to connect, talk more, share more, what are some other spaces or ways for them to connect with you to continue today's conversation?
Sure, yes. You can find our website. We're working on an AI app for ESL teachers, and that website is aimentorlab.com. And I also have LinkedIn. It's Marc A. Santamaria at LinkedIn. Feel free to find me there. And I'm happy to reach out and chat and talk AI.
Well, thank you so much for talking AI with us today. Dr. Santamaria, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to seeing your next post on LinkedIn. So thank you for today.
And thank you so much for having me.
Hey there, dedicated listener. If you've made it this far, we know you're passionate about shifting the way education works. And Tricia and I appreciate you. If you loved what you heard today, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to rate and review Shifting Schools wherever you listen to podcasts. Those ratings help us reach even more educators just like you. And if you know someone who could benefit from these conversations, please share this episode with them. Just one person. Think of the impact we can make together. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for even more great content. And if you haven't already, join us at Camp Shifting Schools, where the conversations keep going long after the podcasts end. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and thank you for being part of Shifting Schools.